What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Loki episode 3, Lamentis. So this one kind of dropped in quality just a bit, and the only reason is just because of the way it ended. Because for the most part, I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed getting to know more about Sylvie and kind of the new, I guess, variant she is, and kind of the differences between her and Loki. I would like to know a bit more about her backstory, and I'm assuming we'll find out eventually. But I mean, yeah, all of it just sort of builds into nothing. I mean, you get to the end of the episode, and oh no, they're trapped on a planet that's gonna blow up. I hope they get out. Like, I don't know. To do that, episode 3 in a 6 episode season kind of feels like a waste of time. Like, we know they're gonna get out of it, and now we're just waiting until next week to see how, to see what's going on. And I'll admit, a lot of this episode felt like it was building to something, and then it just doesn't. Because like they kept setting up all these interesting ideas, because we know Loki is very intelligent, he's very clever. So he steals the time device or whatever it is, the Tempad, I think that it's called. He steals it, hides it from Sylvie, and then all of a sudden they fall off the train after he got drunk while she was asleep, for some reason. And then he falls off the train, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh no, it's broken." And I'm just thinking, okay, so we know Loki's not actually this clumsy. Like, he's very clever. So is he just pretending like it's broken? Is this not the real thing? Did it never actually need a charge this whole time? Was it really working this whole time? And then Sylvie starts telling him about how her powers work, how for the stronger minds, she has to basically create an illusion for them that makes them think they're somewhere else, like what she did with the one TVA agent, where she made her believe she was back in, before she was a TVA agent. And this whole idea that, oh well, now I'm just human again, and oh yeah, we're best friends, and I'm going to give you this information. There's a possibility that that's what she could have been doing to, like, Loki this whole time. Like, she's created this illusion that they're working together, and feels like they're bonding, until she finds out how he tricked her. How he managed to hide the device, how his powers work, because it seems like she's trying to get that information from him. So all of these interesting ideas that could possibly be happening, who's trying to one up who, and then it just ends like, oh no, they're gonna die, and we know they're not going to. So I don't know. It was an odd place to end the episode. It really felt like a lot of this amounted to nothing at the end of the episode, and maybe it'll come full circle next week. We'll see a bit more about it next week. But most of the time when you build up something in an episode, you see it paid off later on in that same episode. It's very rare that you see something built up in this episode and then you see the payoff next time. So I feel like the ending is the only thing that really threw me off. It was just very odd. Everything else, though, I mean, like I said, it was interesting to see more about her, finding out about her powers, finding out honestly about Loki and how he feels about some of the stuff that happened with his mom and all that. I mean, it was interesting to get more characterization on him. Finding out that the TVA agents are not, like, they're actually all variants that now work for the TVA. So what does that mean? Like, do at some point they just get reprogrammed to think, oh yeah, I've always been here, or are all of them variants that have been working at the TVA for so long that they just believe that this is where they've always been because they've forgotten their past lives? Because I mean, even that one girl at the end of last episode was like, it's all real, it's all real, it's all real, like trying to convince herself that the TVA is actually a thing that exists, and that her life is a thing that, what she does for a living is not fake. But it could be, there could be something else that we don't even know about the TVA, that maybe the timekeepers are not real, or maybe Renslayer, she is not actually getting orders from anybody, like the timekeepers are gone, or I don't know, like a lot of interesting possibilities being brought out of this idea that the TVA agents were not created by the timekeepers, and that they're just variants that have been convinced that they're just supposed to be working here, and this is where they've been the whole time. I mean, that's kind of an interesting concept. But, I mean, we don't get to explore that very much because a lot of this episode was devoted to Loki and Sylvie building their connection, building, kind of I don't know, sometimes it seemed a little romantic, which is weird to me. It's like, this is supposedly a female version of Loki, right? So he's kind of romancing himself. I mean, I guess for Loki it does kind of make sense. He's a little bit of a narcissist. So, but I don't know, like, there's this possibility that's floating around in my mind, like, what if Sylvie is actually Loki's sister? And she comes from a timeline where Odin saved his sister instead of him and took his sister in and adopted her instead. And the TVA was like, nope, that's not allowed. And so she's trying to do all this because she just wants to exist. She doesn't want to die. She feels like that's an unfair and unjust end for her. Like, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting idea, like a fun idea to play with. But we spent so much time just kind of flirting with all these possibilities and, ideas coming into my mind, and then we don't really ever talk about it. They spend a lot of time making jokes, spend a lot of time fighting, they spend a lot of time getting knocked around. I don't know, it just kind of felt like it didn't really amount to much in the end. And again, this could all come around next episode, and they could talk about it more next episode. But for the time being, it kind of feels like we were just biding our time with this episode. It felt like it was just, I don't know, showing that they're going to feud, they're going to fight. And I mean, sure, we already knew that. I don't know. I guess it depends on what happens in the next couple episodes. Maybe this is sort of a biding the time episode, but even if some of this stuff gets paid off in an episode or two, I still just feel like this episode in particular, like if you just take out everything else, take out the rest of the story, and just look at this one episode, it really feels like kind of a waste of time. Because what was really accomplished in this? Like we see they end up at the TVA. Loki keeps her from getting to the timekeepers, basically keeps her from getting disintegrated, because that might be what was about to happen. So he takes her away to this place that's about to get blown up. They need to recharge the device to get out of there, and it's kind of just a journey of them trying to get to a place to recharge it, and then they break it, and they're like, okay, we'll just take a ship out of here, and then that blows up, and that's where it ends. So what happened? Like, what happened in this episode? Not much. Aside from a little bit more character backstory, which some of it was interesting, some of it just raised more questions that didn't get any answers. I don't know. It feels like this was an incomplete episode. And it's the first time I felt that. Because most of, pretty much all the episodes of WandaVision, all the episodes of Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier, even the first 2 episodes of Loki, there was a very clear beginning and ending, and you could see what happened throughout the episode, what changed, what plot moved forward. In this one, it didn't feel like much happened. It didn't feel like much moved forward. It was just a little bit more backstory. So, it's partly because there's such a high standard right now for these episodes and for Marvel that I feel like this one was just, it was below average, so it was still good. It was still enjoyable. There's still a lot of good moments, but I still feel like compared to everything else I've seen so far from Marvel, it doesn't really measure up. It doesn't really meet those same high standards. And I think that's kind of disappointing from a show that so far has been doing even better, in my opinion, than WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, there's so much more that they're doing and so much more interesting topics that they're bringing up and ideas that they're bringing into the Marvel Universe, that this one just sort of felt like a bit of a disappointment compared to the first 2. So maybe that's just me, but with that being said, that's it for this episode. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know, we can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Loki reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.